up if you want to as well. Now look at that change in texture. Oh, that's it. So, look at that, what we have here. Meringue that's just starting to fall back on itself. Delicious. Now, let's fold. Look at that. In stages, just the first fold, nice and light, making sure, of course, you don't see any of that egg white left in it, because we want to make sure that it's the same all the way through. There we are, the souffle mix. Next thing, we've got to make sure that we just get it inside the mould. So in it goes. Look at this. Isn't that delicious? In go the soufflés, and about 10 minutes later, I'm going to be pulling out of there delicious, light lemon soufflés. So what do we do next? We've got soufflés and ruby in a very, very hot oven. But think about it. If you're going to have a really nice soufflé, what do we normally do? We normally split them open and we pour that hot sauce inside. And just take a look at this sauce. Just sieved, lovely raspberries, sugar, delicious. So there you've got easy, quick raspberry sauce. Back to the soufflés. Looks like they're ready to come out the oven. So, look at that. What have we got? They're light, they're fluffy, they're delicious. And what about that sauce? One little cut. And in goes the raspberry sauce. So just imagine that. Hot, fiery lemon soufflé with a hot raspberry sauce. And it looks like Ruby's going to be rising again. So that's my lemon soufflé and Ruby soufflé, and it's one of 10 recipes from 5 different chefs in this book. It's called 5 Go Mad in the Kitchen. It costs £1 and at least 75 pence goes to Comic Relief. So from me and Miss Wax, good night!
Don't forget to watch Red Nose Day, March the 12th, 7 p.m. on BBC One.
From this to this, the world of fashion jewellery
I'm so fuming it would punch his face.
can be cutthroat.
She could hang, draw and quarter someone, laughing in the process.
And all that glitters
I can't stand if you don't tell the truth.
She doesn't appear to have any conscience.
won't necessarily turn to gold.
You just have to keep going. I love the new collection.
I hope the organisation of the office is better than the organisation of a picnic.
Trouble at the Top, Wednesday 9:50 on BBC Two.
A bit of comedy-type banter now on BBC Two, refereed by Clive Anderson.
Welcome to If I Rule the World, the show that does for politicians in Britain what Bill Clinton did for Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. On the blue team tonight are Graeme Garden and Janet Street Porter, and on the red team, Jeremy Hardy and Tony Hawks. Let's start with a game called State of the Nation. We've asked our audience a number of questions. All our teams have to do is to work out the most popular answers to those questions. I'm going to start with you, Jeremy. The audience was asked this question: if a missile landed on Britain tomorrow, which city would you like it to destroy?
I have to say, although we are launching missiles on Iraq tomorrow, these are very high-tech, smart weapons, and we do hope that most of them will land in the sort of Middle East area, and only very few should land in this country.
Yes.
I would think most people here are probably Londoners, so they'd probably say somewhere like Bath, which would take out quite a lot of countryside as well. So somewhere rural, a rural city that would involve lots of...
Rural city? I don't think you can have rural cities, can you? I mean, a city is essentially urban, isn't it?
No, as long as it has a cathedral, Clive.
Yes.
They might say Man City, of course. Except that Man City seem to do a bloody good job of destroying themselves, don't
yes. All right.
So what are you going for? You're the leader.
I think Ely.
Ely. Let's see what the answer here was from the audience. Liverpool, 23%. Somebody else said Hull or Wigan, don't mind which. And somebody else said anywhere in Wales apart from my mum's house. Anyway, Graeme, your question that you have to deal with, what will be the main topic of debate at the Welsh Assembly? What do you think the audience made of that?
Well, I think the Assembly will largely talk about why are we here. But I think their main topic of debate will be sheep, obviously.
Why would that be?
They have a great interest in sheep.
Do they?
But this audience, I would think, would say rugby.
Well, you know I'm half Welsh, so
Which
my
half,
Welsh...
Dad?
Well, I'm not quite sure. Maybe not the top half, the bottom half.
Now you say this, I do detect a sort of Welsh lilt into your voice.
Can you see me in one of those big pointy hats?
Yes, I frequently do. So between you, what answer are you coming up with?
Well, I don't know. Well, they won't be able to converse because they won't be able to agree on which Welsh dialect they're talking.
Excellent point.
So,
rugby.
Right. Oh, dear. Very, very firm central control in your party, I can tell. So what did the audience make of this? What did they give? Close harmony singing, which just edged out sheep and sheep-related issues at 12%. Tony, what's the most annoying thing in the world? That was the question the audience was asked. What's your guess at that?
Well, I can tell you what my constituents find the most annoying thing in the world, and that's that I don't give a toss about them. But that doesn't worry me, because I don't give a toss about them. But I think, looking at this audience, I think maybe they'll go for Americans. Because Americans don't use the right words for things.
Don't they?
Though they call it zucchini, we call it courgettes.
Yes.
They call them pants, we call them trousers. They call Elizabeth Taylor an actress, we call her an embarrassing old tart. And no, hear me out, Clive.
Well,
President Clinton calls it getting close to someone emotionally, we call it a blowjob.
Right. So with that preamble, if that's what I can call
I think that I'm absolutely 100%
Americans.
sure that they will say, I think, I'll even go for the figure. I'll go 34% saying Americans.
Oh, you're going for the double whammy on that one. So 34% Americans. What did the audience in fact answer in what proportion? Mobile phones on trays. Somebody says the guy in front of me, blue jumper, dark hair, thinks he's hilarious. Somebody else, the most annoying thing in the world is my shoes hurt. Look for the bigger picture, for goodness sake. Failing your driving test because your examiner is a ginger git. That's obviously applied to a lot of people. OK, Janet, so the question for the audience, for you to deal with, is what do people use the internet for?
Lots of politicians think it's fabulous. You can have a computer terminal in every classroom. Therefore, you don't probably need teachers. But you know what I think people use the internet for? Shagging.
Shagging?
Well, it's a dry kind of sex. It's fantastic.
Is it?
Not that I do it, but this is what I've heard. Sex on the internet.
Is this with a hard disk or a floppy disk?
Don't confuse me with science.
No, so what's the answer, Jack? I'm going to tie you down. Sex.
Sex, obviously.
It's always the answer. OK, what did the people answer on this one? Porn. So go, that's well done, Janet. You get that one, yes. OK. The other things people do is pretending to be Mina, a 16-year-old schoolgirl from Helsinki. Oh, yeah, I've had a conversation with those ones. And looking up celebrity addresses. I know where you live, Clive. I think Janet wins that round, hands down, so to speak. Now we go on to the yes-no round. If the participants here should use the word yes or no, we'll hear this noise, and they'll be eliminated from the round. So I'm going to start with you this week, Graeme. The euro. Do you think it's going to replace the pound?
Without question.
Is the pound going to be scrapped then?
The pound will be scraped.
Scraped?
And then ground down to make euros.
Oh, I see. Is that your policy?
That is my policy.
Do you think we're being stampeded into it against our will?
Nobody's being stampeded. At all.
Don't get too clever with me.
That's impossible.
What do you think about this demonstration, then? Are you against it? Have you heard of it?
I have not heard of it, and therefore I'm thoroughly against it.
Do you want to talk about the euro, Janet?
Not at this minute.
All right. Well, how about Beryl Bainbridge? Do you agree with her that a Scouse accent should be avoided?
It's an extreme point of view.
Do you know the Queen's English?
Of course I do.
Do you know the Queen?
I haven't really met her, Clive, have you?
You mustn't ask me questions, can you?
Why not?
Because I'm asking the questions, aren't I? Do you think that accents divide people? Are you going to answer this question?
I'm thinking about it. Don't bully me.
I'm not bullying you, am I?
You are bullying me, just because I'm a woman.
Are you a woman? Let's talk about baldness. Do you think that the German scientists are right to suggest that baldness can be a side of cleverness?
Are you talking to me here?
I'm talking to you.
Yes. Do you know He didn't even ask me a question.
Is that the quickest person going out in the whole game?
Oh, no.
Jeremy, are you sad to see the end of News at 10?
It's something we'll all be greeting with great sorrow.
Have you ever watched News at 10?
I have watched News at 10.
Will you watch it at 6:30?
That would be impossible, wouldn't it, Clive?
Is that a no?
Unless it was some kind of a repeat or spooky deja vu experience.
You could video 6:30 and replay it at 10 o'clock.
I have videoed 6:30, but it can be very boring. It depends what I'm doing at
Yes.
the time.
Do you think...
Sometimes I may be in the lavatory or simply making the dinner.
In the lavatory?
Well, I may go to the lavatory at many different times. A politician has a very complicated life, Clive.
Is Trevor MacDonald your favourite newsreader?
Certainly, he is one of my
What about
top.
Jill Dando?
Jan Dildo is, again, one of my very favourites, especially on holiday programmes.
Are you familiar with Kirsty Young?
I know who she is.
Do you like her as a newsreader?
Only in a lewd sense.
Does Trevor MacDonald have a farm?
I think you're thinking of his father. Old Trevor.
Is that his father?
I should imagine so. Young Trevor would be a pretty stupid name for a very, very old man.
Yeah. Can we talk about benefit fraud? Are you in favour of this crackdown on fraudsters?
Crackdown is an unfortunate expression. Perhaps we should start them on softer drugs and then gradually get them completely addicted to things.
Are you in favour of this system of sort of delaying payment to prevent fraud?
Delaying payment is something we all do. We all have mortgages, we all have debts.
Have you got debts?
I have small undisclosed debts to members of the cabinet, yes.
Oh, and Josephine Porter wins on that one then for surviving longest. What a very intensely played game that turned out to be. Let's go on to perhaps a more light-hearted game, because I like to keep in touch. We test Graeme and Jeremy's knowledge of various aspects of British culture. We're going to start with you, Graeme, this week. You've got 90 seconds to see how many questions you can get right on the subject of food, and your time starts now. How do you warm up a Pop-Tart?
You tell her you're a footballer.
Good answer, but I'm afraid no points. It's in a toaster. Yeah. What's ciabatta?
It's that big hairy thing in Star Wars. A Wookiee. Made of bread.
I'll give you a point for
bread.
bread. Yes, a point for Italian bread. Well done. What do you eat on Burns night?
Vindaloo.
Nothing there. It's haggis, neeps and tatties. Who claimed one is fun?
Her Majesty the Queen.
Well, the answer is Delia Smith, but I can accept that as a description of her. What are pigs in blankets?
They're sleeping policemen.
Nothing there, I'm afraid. They are apparently American sausage rolls. Why might you have smeg in your kitchen?
It's a form of white goods.
I can accept that. It's a brand of kitchen appliance.
Yeah.
So I was just worried there. It's a bit of product placement. But what's offal?
You are, but I like you.
And I have to penalise you for illegal use of somebody else's catchphrase. All right, it's edible organs. Oh, that's liver and kidney. So well done, Graeme Garden. You've got 3 points. OK, let's switch to Jeremy. Your subject is sex, and you have 90 seconds. More than enough, I would have thought. And your time starts now. Who was the first page 3 girl?
Anne of Cleavage.
Gilly Johnson was the answer we're looking for. Where can you marry animals?
Norfolk.
That's relatives. In fact, it's California is apparently the answer. They marry animals to each other. What did David Mellor famously wear in bed?
An expression of plaintive gratitude.
I'll give you that. We have his Chelsea strip, but I think that was a made-up story.
Live in a paper bag.
I'm giving you a point. Paper bag, yes, yes. Who was paid $12 million to do a striptease?
Sophie Rhys-Jones.
We have Demi Moore, I'm afraid. What part of London is associated with the illegal sex trade?
The street corners.
Anywhere more specific than that?
Well, close to the road.
No, Soho is what the answer was for. Who do men seldom make passes at?
Robbie Fowler.
I'll give you a point for that. We had girls who wear glasses. Who was seduced by a donkey?
Mrs. Donkey.
Mrs. Donkey. How sweet. Well, we've got Titania in Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm not sure exactly seduced, but that's what we're looking for. What's swinging? What is swinging? Correct. Partner swapping. Oh, that's it. Well done. You've got 3 points as well, so that's a dead heat. OK, let's open the show to our audience now in time for questions. Does anyone here have a question for our panel? Yes, sir.
Who do you think should be the new London mayor, and do you think he'll have any real powers?
Graeme.
My own bet would be William Hague.
William Hague?
Well, he'll be looking for a job soon enough.
Why are we using this P word?
Yes.
By the way.
Yeah.
What about Mayor of London might be a woman?
Indeed.
I.e. me.
Well, the important thing is that whoever I choose to be mayor, that Londoners support that decision and abide by it.
Yes. Where do you stand on Ken Livingstone?
Around the neck.
Yes. Let's move on to another question. Yes, lady there's got a question. A hand up very quickly.
Do you think Viagra should be rationed on the NHS?
Should Viagra be rationed on the NHS? Graeme, I want to ask you about this. You're a bit of an expert on this subject,
yes,
aren't you?
I am. No, quite the reverse. It should be pumped into the water supply.
Yes.
And at least would keep the unemployed happy.
Yeah. That's your election manifesto, is it?
It is, yes. We're standing on that.
Yes.
I have to say, I think it's a terrific idea. There should be as much of it about as you can get. I personally had quite a lot before this show, and I can tell you that normally this desk is a couple of inches lower, I have to say.
Yeah. Just a couple of inches.
Tragically,
yes. Yes, there's a gentleman over there.
Yes, if all the dogs were taken out of Battersea Dogs Home, what or who would you place in the kennels?
Oh, this is a complicated question. Who do you want to put in prison, is what you're basically saying, in small kennels?
Let him ask the question he wants to ask.
I was repeating the question to give you time to come up with a witty and interesting answer.
I was having a go at you to give me even more time. Well, I think we should put cats in there. There are too many cats in there. Cats everywhere. I mean, basically, you see dogs with homeless people, don't you? You don't see cats with homeless people, do you?
No.
So they're not as nice. Well, therefore, they're not as nice. They're not loyal, you know. They'd go back to the place, they'd say, this is where you live, I'm out of here, I'm not interested.
Where are the dogs going?
Well, this the question just said they were taken out and...
Well, I'm sorry, we can't have
where are they going?
Dogs.
Ilford.
They're going to Ilford. You've got a whole thing worked out here. Completely pointless and bizarre. So you've solved that. The dogs are going to Ilford.
Well, I think the people of Ilford should obviously go in there.
Well, yeah.
Surely they should go to the Isle of Dogs. And have their own hunter-gatherer society there. Or licking their own genitals and drinking toilet water society.
Any more questions? Don't have to be completely wacky like this. A lady there in a...
What's your stand on prostitution, being politicians as you are?
What's your style?
No. Not that close.
Stance?
Stance, yes.
Stance is sort of like that, isn't it?
Oh, hang
Prostitution.
On a minute. That's a good way of answering the last question, because we could recycle Battersea Dogs Home into kind of London's first state brothel. Get the dogs out and get...
Just still keep the same name, I suppose. But what's your policy in the Blue Party on prostitution? Now, you've made an in-depth study of this, Graeme, haven't you?
Indeed, I was in charge of a working party. And very good she was, too.
Yeah. The Red Party, where do you stand on this?
Clearly, we've got to get the prostitutes off the street, gather them all up, put them in a van and take them to Ilford.
Yeah. So will you be introducing measures into the House of Parliament for this?
I'll certainly be moving to Ilford.
Yes. Well, I think that's about all we can get on our question time. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's get everyone to the pager round. In this round, I'll be interviewing Graeme and first Jeremy, and their performance will be constantly monitored by their party spin doctors, and they'll be sending through advice and suggestion via their pages, and we better follow this by looking at our television screens. Now, Jeremy, the budget, it's traditionally the moment in the year when the government can transform the economy. What big single measure is going to transform the economy in tomorrow's budget?
Well, without wanting to preempt it, I'm going to tell you what's in it. Yes. We hope to actually have a lower rate of tax, a starter rate of tax of 10p for children.
For children?
A starter rate, because they're paying nothing on their substantial benefits. It's something for nothing. And 10p, 10 a unit, is easy for them.
So what is the idea here, to get them used to paying tax, or are you trying to raise a lot of money?
Send them out to steal, isn't it? And frankly, this way...
But we've never had taxes. No, we've never had taxes for children.
We have had taxes.
No, we haven't.
We have had...
Look, it's always been only people in work.
Children climbing up chimneys. What is that if that is not taxation?
Isn't there a lower limit?
Mr. Anderson, answer the question.
I'm not...
Is it?
I'm asking a question.
Is it not? Well, answer your own question.
Victorian values is ridiculous.
I prithee, sir. Vex me not with this tipple-taffle, for it is my trusted colleague here.
What about...
Yes, I have to say that my colleague here has let me down very badly.
In what sense?
I am not standing by him, because he is responsible for everything. Everything that's bad and evil in the world, all wickedness.
What about the economy?
All unsolved crimes in history.
What about the economy, which is stagnating,
Good question.
Well, aren't you going to do something about it, or have you given all control over to the Bank of England now, so you can't affect things like interest?
Well, Gordon Brown suffers violent mood swings, and we did think it was necessary. We did think it was necessary. Somebody like Gordon needs some stability in his life, needs to slow down, to relax, to look deeply, straight ahead.
I don't know if you were being terribly boring, but I'm feeling terribly, terribly sleepy.
You are feeling drowsy. I don't want to smoke again.
I've never wanted to smoke.
But every time somebody says increase in fee, you'll wet yourself from there.
I've always done that as well. But now, can you just get us back to the budget and its formulation?
Well, one of the important things that will have to be announced is that we will need to take control of the radio stations.
Why? I thought you said last week the economy was going very well.
The economy is going marvellously well.
So you're going to make it go badly with your budget, are you?
But with a volcano of this size, threatening to unleash dinosaurs upon the earth, the only thing the Home Secretary can possibly do is
Are you feeling all right, Mr. Hardy?
I'm feeling slightly trippy, but I've been in power for a couple of years.
I did really want to know about the fiscal measures you're planning to bring in, because most budgets put up the taxes on petrol, on smoking, on wine, on the whiskey industry. Are you going to do anything to help them?
Well, there is something I've always wanted to try, but I've never been convinced it's physically possible.
Yes. Let me turn to Graeme Garden, and I'm very pleased to be able to ask you about the environment, because I believe in the environment, because I live there. Are you going to be able to promise some measures to improve the quality of life for people of this country?
In almost every way, yes, absolutely, and especially in terms of the environment.
Yes. Well, what about our cities? These days, children in the inner city have to breathe in air loaded with lead, which affects their brains. Can you do something about to control emissions?
To control emissions?
That's the lead content of...
the lead content of your brain, is it?
Well, I mean, for small children growing up in big cities...
yes, of course, it's a very important
problem.
problem, yes, and we are going to ban leaded petrol altogether in the future.
Oh, very good. What about our rivers and the pollution?
They'll be banned as well, yes. And if Janet could just help me to give an example... Bloody hell.
Notoriously, the beaches around Britain are polluted by the towns which pump out their sewage. Now, are you doing about that?
Yeah, this is because so much raw sewage is still dumped into the sea.
Yes.
And in my new book, Ways with Sewage, I explain how it is not any longer going to be dumped into rivers and into the sea, but is going to be stored inland in multi-storey car parks.
Is this the sewage or unsold copies of your book?
This is the sewage, which will probably contain many unsold copies of my book.
Yes, I didn't know you had a book out. I'd rather concentrate on the problems associated with, for example, there's supposed to be a coordinated transport policy to get more people back on the rails.
There is,
yes.
And if I could just show you.
Yes.
I make a little train here.
How long will this take?
And it doesn't take long because it's not a very realistic one.
It's not a very good train. Is it a virgin train?
No, it's not, because it's quite clean.
Yes, I see. Anyway, so you're going to encourage people to go on paper trains, or am I misunderstanding?
Well, paper trains, yes, because they're disposable, Clive. In fact, why don't you have it? Yes.
That's very kind of you. My children will really enjoy that, I should think. But can we get back to the environment? I think if you look at the league table of European countries, Britain is outperformed by virtually every other country apart from...
It's only in soccer, though, and...
No, in terms of the environment, apart from some of the stuff which is blown from Britain onto the continent, we're much worse.
Well, we're much worse, but then that's because of this lot here who've been in power for so long.
Yeah.
And, hold my jacket, Jack.
Oh, well, thank you.
In the car park.
Perhaps we'd better end the interview there. Thank you very much, Graeme Garden. We have to move on because it's time for a reshuffle. If we put up onto the screen some numbers, behind each number is a possible appointment to a member of the cabinet. Pick a number and tell me why you're having him in your cabinet.
Number 5.
Oh, excitement you bring to this. Number 5, and it's Jesus.
Yes. There are a great number of Christians in the cabinet, and we thought it'd be good to have somebody Jewish.
Yes.
Yeah. It'd be wonderful to get hold of the EC fish quotas. I mean, we'd only need 2, wouldn't we?
Terrific idea. And also, another boon, another bonus, what with his 2000th birthday coming up?
Yes.
We could persuade him to do some favours for us. He could turn the Thames into wine, couldn't he?
Yes.
Then we could turn the Millennium Dome upside down and make punch in it.
Also, he's famous for making the lame walk, so he could take over Virgin trains.
Yes.
Yes. Or Mary trains, as it would be called.
Jesus and Mary trains.
I doubt it. Let's move on to Graeme.
Number 3.
Number 3 for Graeme, and you get Monica Lewinsky. Well, she's been in the news.
Yes, and I think much maligned, just because she blew the whistle on the president.
Yes. Could you find a position for her in your cabinet?
Very easily.
Yes.
Very easily.
Let's switch over to the red part again, to Tony. Select another number.
Number 1, please.
And that's Mike Tyson, the pretty powerful boxer.
Well,
what are you going to give him?
He'd be excellent. Well, he'd certainly be a very influential figure in the cabinet. He'd certainly be able to get the ear of the Prime Minister.
There'd be somebody for Jesus to forgive, of course. And Jesus could just keep turning the other cheek until his head finally came off.
With that unhappy image, let's go over to Janet.
6, please.
6. And who do you get?
I
Noel
am
Edmonds.
so thrilled. Over the years, look how his ratings have gone down. He's lost millions and millions of viewers. So, of course, he could go to the Department of Employment. Down would go the job list figures. He could go to the Department of Health.
Yes.
Down would go the waiting list. Or perhaps, because of all those years, you know, honing Mr. Blobby to the icon that he is, he should work with John Prescott as his deputy.
Oh, I see. Well done, everybody. Noel Edmonds brings that to a conclusion. We've got enough time now for a game called I Couldn't Disagree More. This week, can Graeme disagree with anything and everything that Jeremy and Tony have to say to him?
Germans have no sense of humour.
I couldn't disagree more. They must have. They invented the Volkswagen.
Oi, dog breath is no way to address royalty.
It depends which one you're thinking of.
The square of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle equals the sum of the squares of the 2 shorter sides.
No. This is the sort of woolly-minded claptrap they're teaching our kids these days. I mean, they'll be telling me there's no E in potato next. I had a spud last night. I was bopping till dawn.
Yes.
I couldn't disagree more.
No. No, I couldn't disagree more.
Thank you very much, Graeme Garden. Well, we're nearly at the end of the programme. There's just enough time for a bit of desperate vote grabbing. You have to either buzz or ring if you can come up with some policies which might just swing the odd vote in your direction. As a quick fire round, if you're not quick, you're fired, so away you go. Don't.
We plan to introduce the Blood Sports channel on television.
Yes.
Stick a little camera on the fox's bottom.
Yes.
Live bullfighting from Spain, hamster baiting and cockfighting. I think it'd be a complete vote winner.
You did say hamster bait.
We'll be reforming the legal system, so barristers can be less formal, and instead of saying objection, they can just go bollocks.
And that'll be bollocks, my lord, surely.
Brilliant. The judge could go, bollocks overruled. Well, that can only be a good thing.
We're going to stop pissing about and put taxes up.
Yes?
We're going to reduce class numbers. In future, there'll just be two, us and them.
The penalty for allowing your dog to foul the footpath is that anybody who so chooses may enter your home any hour of the day or night and leave a huge steaming turd anywhere you're likely to walk.
I see. All right. Oh, and that's the division bell. That's the